There's a reason some men walk into a room and nobody laughs too loudly around them. Nobody interrupts them. Nobody tests them twice. Not because they're bigger. Not because they're richer. And not because they threaten anyone. But because something about them feels dangerous. Not violent. Not emotional. Just controlled. And in today's world, control is rare. Most people are loud because they're terrified of being ignored. Most people overshare because they're desperate to be understood. Most people react instantly because modern society trained them to live emotionally exposed. And that's exactly why they're easy to manipulate. The truth is, modern life rewards performance, not presence. Social media taught people to turn their emotions into public content. Corporate culture taught people to smile while silently resenting each other. Relationships became negotiations for validation. Friendships became networking. Even confidence became theater. Everybody is talking. Almost nobody is observing. And the people who quietly understand this, they move differently. In this video, we're not talking about fake alpha male behavior. We're not talking about intimidation tactics. We're talking about something much deeper. Psychological presence. The kind of presence that makes people second-guess themselves around you. The kind that exposes insecurity without you saying a word. The kind that makes manipulative people uncomfortable because they cannot read you. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why silence scares people more than anger, why emotional control creates invisible authority, and why the modern world fears men who cannot be emotionally controlled. But there's one thing most people never realize. The men who appear strongest in public are often the most emotionally dependent in private. And near the end of this video, we'll talk about the hidden weakness almost every modern man mistakes for confidence. Because once you see it, you'll never look at power the same way again. This isn't about becoming cold. This is about becoming impossible to manipulate. The world respects emotionally predictable men. Until it wants to control them. One of the biggest lies modern society tells men is this. Express everything. Now, before people misunderstand this, emotional honesty matters. Suppressing pain forever destroys people from the inside. But there's a difference between honesty and emotional exposure. Modern culture rewards emotional visibility because visible people are easier to manage. Think about it. If someone knows exactly what triggers you, they can control your reactions. If someone knows what validation you crave, they can withhold it. If someone knows you fear rejection, they can manipulate your behavior with silence alone. Most people don't realize how much of society operates through emotional leverage. At work. In relationships. Even inside families. The coworker who constantly provokes emotional reactions. The partner who tests your emotional stability during arguments. The friend who subtly humiliates you in group settings to measure your insecurity. People observe reactions more than words. And the moment they realize you are emotionally reactive, they stop respecting your boundaries internally. This is why emotionally controlled men make people uncomfortable. Because they interrupt the manipulation cycle. A calm man cannot easily be baited. A silent man cannot easily be read. A disciplined man cannot easily be emotionally blackmailed. And that creates uncertainty. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. Not because he promoted cruelty, but because he understood human nature without romanticizing it. People rarely attack strength directly. They probe for emotional openings. That's why the loudest people are often the easiest to destabilize emotionally. Because they reveal everything constantly. Their anger. Their insecurity. Their desperation for approval. And deep down, people sense it. The most dangerous person in the room is usually the quietest. Have you ever noticed something strange? When a truly confident person speaks, they rarely rush. They don't over-explain. They don't compete for attention. They don't panic during silence. Because they don't need immediate emotional reassurance from the room. Weak people fear silence because silence removes performance. And once performance disappears, all that remains is emotional reality. That's why silence in conversation feels uncomfortable for most people. A few seconds without noise, and suddenly people begin exposing themselves. They start rambling, over-explaining, clarifying things nobody asked about. Why? Because silence forces people to confront uncertainty. And the human brain hates uncertainty. This is why strategic silence feels powerful. Not because silence itself is magical, but because emotionally reactive people cannot tolerate psychological space. Think about modern communication. Text messages, notifications, instant replies, constant stimulation. People today are psychologically addicted to immediate reassurance. So when someone remains calm, slow, emotionally neutral, it disrupts modern emotional conditioning. Suddenly people start wondering. Are they angry? Did I say something wrong? What are they thinking? Why aren't they reacting? And here's the uncomfortable truth. The person who needs emotional closure first, usually loses psychological control first. That doesn't mean becoming manipulative. It means learning not to surrender your emotional center every time tension appears. Because modern life trains people to react instantly to discomfort. Stoicism teaches the opposite. Pause first. Observe first. Respond intentionally. Why emotional control feels threatening to manipulative people? Most manipulation depends on emotional predictability. If someone knows how to provoke you, they can steer you. That's why manipulative personalities become frustrated around emotionally disciplined people. Because their usual methods stop working. You've probably experienced this before. Someone makes a passive-aggressive comment expecting you to defend yourself emotionally. But instead of reacting immediately, you stay calm. Suddenly they become uncomfortable. Not because you attacked them. Because you removed the emotional game they expected to play. People often reveal themselves most clearly when they fail to control you. And this happens everywhere. In workplaces where insecure managers provoke emotional reactions to maintain dominance. In relationships where emotional chaos becomes a method of control. Even online. Look at social media carefully. Outrage is profitable. Algorithms reward emotional impulsiveness because emotionally reactive people engage more. Modern society constantly monetizes emotional instability. That's why emotional discipline today almost feels rebellious. A calm person cannot easily be manipulated by outrage cycles. A self-controlled person cannot easily be baited into public emotional collapse. And deep down, society doesn't know what to do with people it cannot emotionally predict. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." But today, most people live backward. They surrender their inner state to external events constantly. News headlines control them. Comments control them. Approval controls them. Attention controls them. And then they wonder why they feel mentally exhausted all the time. Because emotional exposure drains energy. Every reaction costs psychological energy. That's why disciplined silence feels powerful. It conserves energy instead of leaking it everywhere. The real reason people fear eye contact. Most people think eye contact is about dominance. It's deeper than that. Sustained eye contact creates psychological exposure. When someone cannot emotionally read your face easily, their brain starts filling the gaps itself. This is why calm eye contact unsettles insecure people. Not aggressive staring. Not intimidation theater. Just calm, grounded presence. The modern world trained people to constantly escape discomfort. Phones. Scrolling. Notifications. Distractions. Very few people can simply sit still and hold presence anymore. That's why emotionally grounded people stand out immediately. Because stillness became rare. And rarity creates psychological weight. There's also something deeply revealing about eye contact. People who constantly look away often aren't weak, they're overstimulated internally. Their nervous system is overloaded. Anxiety, social pressure, fear of judgment, need for approval. Modern life fragmented people psychologically. So when they encounter someone internally calmer than them, they feel it instantly. Not logically. Nervously. That's why true presence cannot be faked for long. Eventually the nervous system reveals reality. You can fake confidence verbally. You cannot fake internal calm consistently. The modern man is exhausted because he never stops performing. This is the part nobody talks about enough. Most men today are psychologically exhausted not from physical labor, but from non-stop emotional performance. Pretending to be okay. Pretending not to care. Pretending to be successful. Pretending to stay strong constantly. And eventually, the nervous system collapses under the pressure. That's why so many men feel numb. Not weak. Not lazy. Numb. Because modern society gives men very few spaces where they can exist without performance. Even vulnerability became performative online. Even self-improvement became competitive theater. Everybody is branding themselves. Very few people are actually at peace internally. And here's the paradox. The more desperate someone becomes for validation, the less psychologically powerful they appear. Because emotional dependence is visible. You can hear it in how people speak. You can see it in how quickly they react. You can feel it in how badly they need approval from every room they enter. Silent authority is different. It doesn't beg for attention. It doesn't chase emotional reassurance. It doesn't need every person to understand it. And ironically, that's exactly why people notice it. The strongest men learn to become unreadable without becoming emotionless. This is important. Stoicism is not emotional suppression. It's emotional discipline. There's a huge difference. Emotionally suppressed people become cold because they fear feeling. Emotionally disciplined people simply refuse to let emotions control their decisions publicly. That's maturity. Not robotic behavior. Not fake toughness. Real strength is being able to feel anger, without becoming destructive. Feel pain, without collapsing publicly. Feel insecurity, without surrendering your dignity. And that takes practice. Especially in a culture designed to constantly provoke emotional reactions. Sometimes the strongest thing a man can do is pause before speaking. Not because he's weak. Because he understands consequences. Machiavelli understood something uncomfortable. People often test emotional boundaries before they test physical ones. That's why emotionally reactive people get targeted repeatedly. Because reactive energy attracts manipulation. Calm energy disrupts it. This doesn't mean becoming paranoid or detached from humanity. It means developing enough internal stability that other people's chaos no longer controls your nervous system. The most powerful shift happens when you stop needing to win every interaction. This changes everything. Weak ego wants immediate victory. Strong presence thinks long-term. That's why emotionally disciplined people don't waste energy proving themselves constantly. They understand something most people never learn. Not every misunderstanding deserves correction. Not every insult deserves defense. Not every challenge deserves engagement. Sometimes silence protects your peace more effectively than explanation ever could. And the older you get, the more obvious this becomes. Especially for men in modern society. You start realizing how many conflicts are fueled by ego, insecurity, emotional hunger, and unresolved pain. People project constantly. And if you react emotionally to every projection, you'll spend your entire life psychologically exhausted. That's why emotionally grounded people conserve words carefully. Not because they're hiding. Because they understand attention is energy. And where attention goes, emotional energy follows. Real power begins when you stop trying to look powerful. This is the hidden truth most people miss. The men obsessed with appearing dominant usually feel powerless internally. Real authority feels quieter, calmer, less performative. Because true confidence doesn't need constant witnesses. And ironically, once you stop chasing approval, people often begin respecting you more. Because emotional independence is rare. Especially now. In a world addicted to attention, silence feels dangerous. In a world addicted to oversharing, privacy feels powerful. In a world addicted to reacting, calmness feels intimidating. And that's why some people will misunderstand your silence. They'll project arrogance onto your boundaries, coldness onto your calmness, ego onto your self-control. Let them. Not everybody deserves full access to your inner world. At the beginning of this video, I told you there's something people fear more than aggression. It's emotional unpredictability. Not toxic unpredictability. Not manipulation. But the quiet confidence of someone who cannot easily be emotionally controlled. And maybe that's what truly unsettles people today. Because modern society depends on emotional impulsiveness. It depends on outrage, validation addiction, attention hunger, psychological dependency. But the moment someone learns to sit calmly inside themselves, the system loses part of its grip on them. So no, this isn't about making enemies fear you. It's about becoming emotionally solid enough that other people's chaos stops controlling your inner state. That's real authority. Silent authority. And maybe the strongest thing you can do in modern life is stop reacting like the world trained you to. If this video spoke to something you've been feeling lately, leave a comment below and tell me honestly. Have you ever noticed how uncomfortable people become when you stop reacting emotionally? And if you want more videos about emotional discipline, modern psychology, Stoicism, and the hidden social dynamics shaping modern life, subscribe to Silent Authority. Because the real battle was never outside of you. It was always inside your mind.